governor has asked all departments to take deep cuts, and I just read in the Honolulu Advertiser that we just laid off 1,300 Department of Education employees as an example. The timing then seems a little odd for the state legislature to be getting a 36% pay raise. The Star Bulletin had a very well-written editorial that spoke to this and indicated that in January, when you all go to work, that you actually can vote not to accept this pay raise. And starting with our incumbent legislators, the sitting legislators, I'd like to get your opinion on whether the pay raise is appropriate at this time and what you will actually do when you get to work if you are elected. And I'd like to start with Cindy Evans, State Rep Evans, please.
Thank you very much. Being at the legislature and caucus, when this came up a couple of years ago, there was a salary commission that looks at the judiciary salaries, legislative salaries, the governor's salaries, all the department heads' salaries. A couple of years ago, they made a recommendation to improve it, but the way our Constitution is written is you can't give yourself a pay raise. It has to be for the next elected body. So this decision was made a couple of years ago, so I think it's just kind of been sitting there like, oh, well, maybe, you know, it just was for us. But then it's come up now that we're in this tough economic time and everybody's like really digging in. And when I reflect on it, it's, you know, I'm just one of the fortunate ones. I happen to be married and you know, we're a two-income family. You know, for me, it's much easier for me to say I'm okay not taking the pay raise because I'm comfortable. But I tell you, I do work with some legislators, some men that it's their family.
Thank you, Rep Evans. Dr. Greene, you're going back for sure, so we'd like to understand the pay raise, as I understand it, roughly is from $36,000 to $48,000 a year. Is this appropriate? What are you going to do in January?
In light of the economic crisis, it's not appropriate to have a large jump. It would be better to have a measured increase. The problem, basically, and I like Cindy, I have another job. I mean, I work another full-time job as a doctor, so I want to sound fair. I mean, I'm able to, you know, to not take her pay raise at the legislature. The reality is there hasn't been a pay raise for legislators that came long before me for many years, like 8 or 10 years. And $36,000 is probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest paid government worker in the entire state. And it's really, for a family of 4, it's technically below the poverty line. And so you're going to end up attracting only legislators that have money if you continue to pay a low salary. And that's the question that the community should ask themselves, where they fall. Like I said, I'm content not to take a pay raise. It doesn't matter so much to me, but you will end up attracting only wealthy legislators over time if you don't find some balance.
Mr. De La Cruz, and the other two, I'm going to pose the same question to you. You have 1 minute to tell us here, if you're elected, when you're elected and you go in January, according to the Star Bulletin, you do have the opportunity to vote not to accept this pay raise, but I don't know if that's a good thing. Tell us if the pay raise is appropriate. Tell us what your position is going to be. 1 minute, Mr. De La Cruz.
Okay, let me try that. First of all, I don't even know what they get paid, but again, I was not applying for a job. I'm here running for office and to serve the people. Again, I've heard that it's been 10 years or more before they've had any kind of a raise, and I don't think there's any one of you out there would go 10 years to having some kind of raise. Now, the issue here is, it sounds like, are you going to you accept a raise because of an economic situation? And they also say this is something a part-time job, but it's not. This position that these people that we hold, or I hope to hold, it's a full-time work at. I know, getting back to that situation about the pay raise, I would like to see it maybe going in an incremental thing, but the full pop of 30-something or 100%, I myself would probably vote against it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman, your position on the pay raise, is it appropriate? What are you going to do when you're elected?
Is it appropriate? I think, yes, it is appropriate for the reasons that Josh described and Cindy. At this time, probably not. Politically, it's not a good time to do this, and it's economically not a good time to do it. And as far as what I'm going to do, I've been talking to some folks. I'm a little confused, and I've got to wait and find out. I believe this pay raise is tied to the executive, the judicial, and the legislative branches. So there has to be some coordination, and I'm not sure how quickly that can occur. But I will do whatever the body wants to do and do the appropriate action when the time comes.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Mr. Smith, talk to us about the appropriateness of this pay raise at this time and what you will do.
in light of what happens incrementally with HGE, the Hawaii Government Employees Association, they also just got a 4% raise, but it was a 4% raise, and it wasn't that much of a big increase like the state legislatures received. I do favor more of, if it's part-time work, then you should get part-time pay for it. This is not a full-time job, so I don't believe it should require full-time pay. But it is what it is right now, but I do favor that if it's part-time work, then it should be part-time pay.